March 21, 1984. The Sea of Japan was cold, dark, and tense, a perfect setting for Cold War drama. The USS Kitty Hawk, a massive U.S. aircraft carrier, led a powerful battle group in joint exercises with South Korea. Every radar sweep and sonar ping reminded the crew Soviet forces were always nearby, watching. Below decks, sailors tracked every blip on their screens, knowing Soviet submarines often shadowed these exercises. The Kitty Hawk, bristling with jets and surrounded by warships, was a symbol of American might, but also a target. Unbeknownst to the Americans, a Soviet Victor I-class submarine, K-314, was lurking below, tasked with trailing the carrier and testing U.S. defenses. The Soviets played a dangerous game, gathering intelligence and pushing the limits of American anti-submarine warfare. The ocean was a chessboard, and one wrong move could trigger disaster. As the Kitty Hawk steamed ahead, its crew had no idea that beneath them, the K-314 was closing in. Two adversaries, separated by only a few hundred feet of water, were about to collide, literally. The stage was set for a shocking encounter that would bring the Cold War's dangers to the surface. The 1980s were the Cold War's most frigid years, and nowhere was the tension more intense than at sea. US and Soviet navies played a constant game of cat and mouse, each side testing the other's resolve and technology. Soviet submarines tried to slip past US defenses, proving they could threaten American carriers. In response, US destroyers and frigates hunted for these subs, using advanced sonar and tactics. The Sea of Japan, bordering the Soviet Union and US allies, was a hotspot for these high-stakes encounters. Every exercise was a show of strength and a provocation. Both sides pushed boundaries, knowing a single mistake could spark a crisis. Submarine commanders risked detection for better intelligence. Surface captains maneuvered aggressively to flush out hidden threats. The rules were clear, but the risks were enormous. The collision between the Kitty Hawk and K-314 wasn't a fluke, it was the inevitable result of this dangerous dance. In these waters, routine could turn deadly in an instant. Deep below, Commander Vladimir Evsenko led the K-314 in a silent pursuit of the Kitty Hawk. For days, the Soviet sub shadowed the American fleet, using the ocean's layers to stay hidden. But the noise of the carrier group overwhelmed the K-314's sensors, making it hard to track the target. Mechanical issues and confusion set in. The Soviets lost contact with the carrier. Believing the Americans had changed course, Evsenko made a risky call surface to periscope depth for a visual check. Surfacing in the middle of an enemy fleet was dangerous, but the need for information outweighed the risk. Standard procedure called for navigation lights, but secrecy was paramount, so the K-314 surfaced stealthily, in darkness. In that moment, the hunter became the hunted, rising blindly into the path of a moving giant. The submarine's limitations, and a single fateful decision, would soon have dramatic consequences. The next few seconds would change everything. Just after 10 p.m., the K-314 broke the surface, directly in front of the USS Kitty Hawk. The Soviet crew saw not distant lights but the looming black wall of the carrier's hull, bearing down at 15 knots. There was no time to dive or warn anyone. The Kitty Hawk struck the submarine with a sickening crunch, sending shockwaves through both vessels. The K-314's sail was crushed, its propeller damaged, and its propulsion shaft severed, leaving it dead in the water. Miraculously, the reactor held and the hull wasn't breached, averting nuclear disaster. The once stealthy hunter was now a crippled wreck, exposed in the middle of the American fleet. The Kitty Hawk suffered a torn bow and ruptured fuel tank but remained afloat. Damage control teams raced to contain flooding and prevent fire. As the shock faded, the Americans realized the truth. They'd collided with a Soviet nuclear submarine. The Cold War had just become terrifyingly real. In the aftermath, confusion and tension gripped both fleets. The Kitty Hawk's escorts identified the crippled Soviet sub and offered help, met with silence. A Soviet tugboat soon arrived to tow the K-314 home, ending the standoff. Both navies quickly downplayed the incident, eager to avoid escalation. The US blamed the Soviet commander for surfacing without warning. The Soviets quietly disciplined him, but when the Kitty Hawk reached port, inspectors found something remarkable. Debris from the K-314 embedded in the carrier's bow. Among the wreckage were pieces of the sub's propeller and, more importantly, secret anechoic tiles, Soviet technology designed to absorb sonar and make submarines quieter. The accidental collision had handed the U.S. Navy a priceless intelligence windfall. American scientists studied the tiles and metal, gaining insights into Soviet submarine stealth. Years of espionage hadn't delivered what a single crash had provided. The failed Soviet mission became a major U.S. advantage. The 1984 collision was a stark reminder of how close the world came to disaster during the Cold War. A routine mission turned into a near catastrophe, averted only by luck. Both navies learned hard lessons, the Soviets about their technology's limits, the Americans about their adversaries' secrets. The intelligence gained shaped U.S. anti-submarine tactics for years. The incident underscored the need for better communication and protocols to prevent future accidents. In response, the U.S. and Soviet Union strengthened agreements to avoid such incidents at sea. The story of the Kitty Hawk and K-314 remains a cautionary tale about the dangers of military rivalry. Even the most advanced machines are operated by humans, capable of mistakes. In a world of powerful weapons, true strength lies in caution and communication. The thin line between peace and conflict is often drawn by a single decision in the dark.